I am an introvert, like a big time introvert. So many people thought that I wasn't as intelligent or that I wasn't as capable. I couldn't talk to others. I couldn't do public speaking. I couldn't do things because I was quiet and because I kept to myself. When other people saw me that way, saw myself in that way too. And I really tried to run from my introverted behaviors and try to force myself into extroversion. And that got me absolutely nowhere. I have been so much better about accepting my introverted behaviors. Introverts are powerful. We listen and we absorb, and the world needs that more than ever. There's a reason why you are who you are. There's a reason why I am who I am, why I am introverted. The world needs introverts, and thus the world needs me. Accepting my introverted behavior. I had to take myself on a 3-day solo trip to Chiang Mai, Thailand. I'm in Bowen, Thailand. I have been teaching here for quite a few months now. I have 1 month left, and I wanted to make the most of my time left here. And so I took a big leap taking myself to Chiang Mai. I had to take a 13-hour night bus, and I had taken Sombat tours my first time. Love Sombat tours. If you're ever in Thailand doing a night bus, do Sombat tours. Night buses are so great because you don't have to pay for a hotel or a hostel, obviously, for that night. And it saves you time too because you're traveling at a time when you would have been sleeping. Hopefully you are sleeping on the bus. If you can sleep on a moving vehicle, I cannot sleep on a moving vehicle. But anyways, you're saving time as well. You're not having to take a 2-hour flight. The transportation is longer, but it's during nighttime when you would have been sleeping anyway. So save money and time. I highly recommend a night bus, but only do Sombat tours. All the other buses, they're cheaper bus brand options that you can do, not worth it. I learned that one the hard way. I got a dirty blanket. Literally, they gave us dirty blankets. I somehow lucked into my own seat. I was on this bus, able to spread out more. Thus, I was able to get some actual rest. It was especially good to have my own seat too because I wasn't traveling with anyone, so I would have had a stranger sitting next to me. Very scary, sleeping next to a stranger. I was very, very thankful to have my own seat. It felt very symbolic because here I am on the solo trip and I get my own seat. It's my second time in Chiang Mai. I had gone there for New Year's. An amazing time. I was blessed by a monk when I went to Chiang Mai for the first time. But I've had some spiritual experiences in Chiang Mai and I wanted to go back. I've been in Thailand for about 5 months now. I've been out of my comfort zone, I think, this entire time just because it's a new culture. I'm not a teacher, and here I am teaching every day. I'm not used to things, and so I've been very out of my comfort zone here. And to go back to a city that I have been to before felt so comfortable. It was honestly a hug. The city felt like a hug. It was just so comforting. I've been a believer in why would you go back to a city that you've already been to before? Why would you go to a new city to explore? But now I kind of understand why you go back because of that comfort level. By 7-Elevens, and I was like, oh, I've been to that 7-Eleven before. I got to my hostel. One girl asked me if I was going to the night market that night, and I was like, I've been before, so I don't know if I'm gonna go. I've been before. Really, really loved being back in a city that I knew. Another big reason why I did this by myself is because I really wanted to go back to Chiang Mai to do the King Kong Smile Zipline. It is the tallest and longest zipline in Asia, 1,200 meters. My friends were too scared to do it. I work at a zipline adventure ropes course in North Carolina, so I wasn't as scared to go about doing this crazy, tall, long zipline. I was definitely still fearful, but I really wanted to do it. I was like, I have to do this. Excursion for the first day. So I arrived in Chiang Mai about 6 a.m. Got to my hostel at about 8 a.m. because I sat at a McDonald's for a while. They picked me up from my hostel to take me to there, which was really great. I know that doing touristy excursions, things like that can feel really cringy, but it is so nice having transportation there and back because it is an hour and a half away. That's kind of how Chiang Mai is. It's a province, not just a city. So it's very spread out. I think a better choice of your money and time to do something like an excursion or a tour because it drives you places. And so you're not having to find your own transportation. And then when you get to some of these more remote locations, trying to find somebody who's willing to drive out there to pick you up and bring you back. I'm very thankful they picked me up from my hostel. Did that about 9 a.m. and then we got there at about almost 11 after we picked everybody else up. And this zip line, one of the best times of my life, was absolutely amazing. I cannot say enough good things about it. I will say, though, that I take so many safety precautions at the one that I work at in the States. This one did not take the amount of safety precautions that we do. We give something called a ground school. It's 20 minutes going over rules. And here it was 5 minutes, if that. if that, going over the rules. I felt more comfortable out there because like I had a better understanding of the equipment and what was happening. But if I did not have that previous experience, I would have been terrified out of my mind. Because there was no groundwork, no, this is how it's going to be, no explanations for things. And I understand that a lot of that is a language barrier, but you were really forced to have to put all of your trust, literally your life, in these strangers' hands who you can barely even talk to. If you are scared of heights and you want to do this zip line, there is no time to be scared. They hook you in, tell you to pick up your feet, so you're just kind of hanging there and they're holding on to you, and then they just push you right down. No thinking. There's no time for turning back. There's no time for being scared. They absolutely just push you straight down the zip line. You're out there for about 2 hours. There's quite a few zip lines through the mountains. One of the most amazing views I've ever seen. It was gorgeous, flying through the mountains. You're so high up there. I was the only person there alone, so the guides gave me more attention and took more pictures of me. I put so much faith into this one guy. He wanted to take a video of me as I was going down the zip line, and so he zip lined with me. Like, he hooked himself in, and we like hooked our legs together, so we're facing each other going down the zip line. And I gave him my phone. He had my phone was attached and like just in his hand. Gave him my phone as we're going down the longest zip line. Video of me going straight down. I was terrified. I was like, if you drop my phone, I will push you off of this zip line. He didn't understand what I was saying, so he doesn't speak English, but it's such a confidence building experience. I cannot say enough good things about it. You get a buffet lunch when you're done ziplining, drop you back off at your hostel. This was about 4, maybe 3. I got coffee, and I did end up going to the market where I got this shirt, which I think is the coolest shirt ever. It's a skeleton riding a motorcycle. There's no question, I am purchasing this. Some amazing food. I love the Chiang Mai night markets. The food is so good. Clothes are so much cheaper. The touristy, like, tacky things are cheaper up north than they are in, say, Bangkok or Pattaya, which is where I'm by. Spent a lot, but it was cheaper than if I bought it closer to me. So girl math was not that expensive. Back to my hostel and I went to bed because I was exhausted. I stayed in Dozy House Hostel. It was one of the cheapest hostels that I could find with a decent rating. I use Hostel World and they do a really good job giving a good breakdown of ratings and pictures and everything like that. I really like Hostel World. I know if I look through these pictures diligently, because it's a solo trip, like I'm going to make sure this is a decent place to stay. When I went there, my room, I was staying in a mixed dorm. There were no curtains on the beds. I've never seen this in a hostel before, but there's not curtains. Stayed in cheaper hostels than this before, and there have been curtains. You have like some sense of privacy, like bad curtains that don't really like fully hide you, but still some sort of like something to give you a little bit of privacy. Everyone could see everyone sleeping. And that was a little bit terrifying. I did not love that, but for what I paid, it was a fine hostel. Great location, great staff. Recommend if you're okay being seen, being watched as you sleep. The next morning I did another excursion. I went to Don Intanon National Park. This is a big one. I would say if you want to go here, it is the highest point in Thailand. It's one of their like more important national parks, so you have to have a guide as you go through. I would definitely recommend doing a group tour if you're going to go, so that way you're not having to deal with like trying to find somebody to walk you through all that kind of stuff. There's also so many entrance fees that you have to pay. You have to go through checkpoints with the Thai government, and so all of that can get very complicated and get very expensive too. The excursion I think was a lot cheaper, and I'll make sure that I link the excursions that I did below too. Out there, it was about like an hour, 2-hour drive there. Then we went on about a 2-hour hike. I wore a maxi skirt to go hiking, because I'm that girl. I definitely got some weird stares, but it was nice because my pictures were way cuter than everyone else's. We ended up wandering to this small village, eating at some of the locals' houses. It was delicious food though. And then we went to get some coffee and the tea tasting. Now, this region, northern Thailand, by the Golden Triangle, which is the meeting point of Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand, it used to be absolutely ridden with an opioid crisis, and all the opioid plants took the nutrients out of the soil. A few decades ago, they did a complete experiment planting a bunch of pine trees and coffee bean trees to see if that would replenish the soil at all, and it did. And so now they are building back up their community, building back up their economy by selling coffee and tea, and it was definitely some of the best tea I ever had. It was so good. I spent so much money there buying all the coffee and tea, but I was like, this is a good cause. After that, we went to see the highest point, where one of the king's ashes are spread. We went to the Twin Pagodas. The Twin Pagodas blew my mind. So it's 2 pagodas, obviously, twin pagodas, one for the king, one for the queen. And because this is for royalty, obviously, they are extremely well manicured and at one of the most beautiful points ever. Oh my gosh, I can't put it into words. The flowers were immaculate. Everything was in full bloom. It was so colorful. Just the view. Oh my gosh. And after that, we went to the elephant. I was a little bit hesitant to go to an elephant sanctuary. Elephants are the national elephant of Thailand, but that does not mean that all elephants are treated ethically. I did my research prior about the one that was attached to this excursion that I was going to. It's the Living Green Elephant Sanctuary, and it had one of the highest ratings in terms of ethical procedures that they do and how well the elephants are taken care of. All the elephants there were rescued from situations where elephant rides. There was one elephant who was blind because workers that she had worked with before had thrown slingshots at her eye whenever she wasn't doing what they wanted her to do, whenever she was going too slow or she was too tired from having to carry people all day on her back, and it literally made her blind. Elephants are about 40 to 50 years old. I didn't even know elephants got that old. Old enough to be my mom. Such a mother nature spiritual experience. We got to meet these elephants, and then we fed them sugarcane and bananas. Elephants radiate wisdom. Like they know my secrets. Massive animals. So many people were scared of them. I was a little bit scared myself that they're going to trample me. Can't see very far out, so you have to be careful when you're walking around them so they don't literally trample you. We walked them to a creek where we got to get in the water and bathe them. This was one of the most magical moments of my life. I bathed an elephant. You throw water on them and they're trained to, when they're getting like water thrown on them, to sit down. You can like pet them, like scrub them and get them all clean. You could tell that these elephants were very well taken care of and they really enjoyed the experience. They wanted to be fed and they wanted to be bathed. And they said too, like if the elephants aren't feeling the water, they don't want to be in the water, then you won't bathe them. Obviously that would have been disappointing, but that would have been fair to the animals. I was really glad that we were able to bathe them. The stay trip was over 12 hours, so when we got dropped back off at our hostel, I went to the night market for dinner and then I went straight to bed. I was so tired. The next morning I somehow stumbled upon Chiang Flower Festival. Didn't even know that it was happening. It's in Old Town, the square. Very similar to the Twin Pagodas, just so well manicured. They even put flower petals in the pond. So magical and whimsical. Just the little touches like that. That's a big thing that I've noticed here in Thailand that we don't really do in America. The cuteness of everything. Cuteness in the packaging. Everything here is just cuter. They put so much care into the aesthetics of everything. The flower festival was absolutely gorgeous. After that, I went to Chiang University. I wanted to see their fine arts building. I was an art history major in college, of course, and so I wanted to see what their art building looked like in comparison. It surprised me how similar the campus looked and felt to my school, the University of Arkansas. Got some much needed caffeine, and then I ended up wandering to the shopping center where I was just wandering about, milling about. I had a couple hours before my flight. Running around the back, and there weren't really people around there, but I didn't think anything of it. I was just wandering, walking around. I see a set of stairs. So what do? Go up the set of stairs. Somehow end up inside this clock tower. Seen the clock tower. I was like, oh, like this must be for like the clock tower. Like I'm gonna go and walk up. I didn't think anything of it. Walk up there. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And nobody's here. And I'm like, why isn't anybody up in this clock tower right now? This is kind of weird. There's tourists all around. Like, why isn't anyone up here? Go back down. And the door is locked. I'd somehow gone through an employee entrance. I was not supposed to be in the clock tower. Had to hop over a gate to get out. I was so embarrassed. I was so scared I was going to get seen or caught or like get in trouble. Got some good pictures, so that's all that matters. And then it was time for me to catch my flight. I was so sad, so heartbroken. Here I am again having these amazing spiritual moments in Chiang Mai. I cannot say enough about Chiang Mai, the culture there. It's so beautiful. It was only 3 days. I felt like a completely different person coming back. I'm so much more confident and so much more sure of myself. I was my own best friend. I was still socializing with others. You think that when you're solo traveling, you're going to be lonely, but because you're alone doesn't mean you're lonely. And because I was alone, I was pushed more to talk to the people in my hostel. I was pushed more to talk to the guides, to talk to the other people that I was on the excursions with. And I feel like I actually probably talked to more people, met more people than I would have if I had been with my friends, because I wouldn't have been pushed to talk and experience things with new people if I had gone with people that I know. All of this to say, if you are an introvert or if you're an extrovert, do solo travel. Do it in a country where it's safe, of course, especially if you are a woman. If you too are an introvert and have ever felt like people think you are inferior to them or that you are not as competent as them just because you are more quiet and more reserved, know that those people's opinions of you are not accurate. You are capable, you are talented, you can still travel in Chiang Mai, because if I did it, then you can too. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye!